History is often told through the clash of swords and the triumphs of generals, but beneath the arches of victory lie the silent stories of the vanquished, especially captive queens. These women, once symbols of sovereignty, were transformed into tools of Roman propaganda, stripped of identity and dignity. Imagine the fall from divine ruler to spoil of war, paraded and imprisoned as a warning to all who might resist Rome. Rome knew that to conquer a people, it had to break their spirit, and the public humiliation of their queen was the ultimate weapon. Yet, even in chains, these women often embodied a resilience that defied their captors. This essay explores the shadowed world of Rome's captive queens, the spectacle of their defeat, the grim reality of their captivity, and the ways they were used as pawns in Rome's political games. Through figures like Boudica, Cleopatra, and Sophonisba, we'll uncover how Rome asserted dominance not just on the battlefield, but in the very souls of those it conquered. Their stories reveal the true nature of absolute power, an empire so confident it turned the subjugation of its fiercest opponents into public entertainment. But these women were more than victims. They were symbols of resistance, their legacies challenging the myth of Roman glory. Their suffering is a necessary counterpoint, a reminder that behind every empire lies a trail of personal tragedy and an unbreakable will to endure. The Roman triumph was the ultimate display of power, a parade where victory was celebrated and the defeated were shamed. For a captive queen, this was the first act of her public degradation, once revered, now paraded in golden chains before jeering crowds. Her regalia became a costume, her presence a warning. This is the fate of those who defy Rome. The humiliation was psychological warfare, designed to crush not just the queen, but the spirit of her people. Zenobia of Palmyra's defeat is a vivid example. Bound in heavy gold, forced to march ahead of the emperor's chariot, she became a living trophy. The spectacle awed Romans and intimidated rivals, reinforcing the message that no power could stand against the empire. For the conquered, news of their queen's fate spread quickly, searing the memory of defeat into generations. The triumph was Rome's final battle, fought with shame, not swords. It cemented Roman authority and ensured the conquered would never forget their place. The queen's long, painful walk was a journey into oblivion. After the spectacle faded, a captive queen's suffering entered a new phase: imprisonment. Too valuable to kill, too dangerous to free, she was confined, sometimes in a villa, sometimes in a dungeon. This was erasure, her status, power, and connection to her people severed. House arrest was a gilded cage, her every move watched, her influence neutralized. The silence and isolation were deliberate, designed to break her spirit and reduce her to a forgotten captive. For some, like Cleopatra, the prospect of such a fate was worse than death, her suicide a final act of defiance. For others, imprisonment was a living death, their existence fading into a footnote in Roman history. The queen became a ghost, a relic of a lost kingdom, her story nearly erased. Rome's true victory was not just in conquest, but in the slow, methodical erasure of its enemies' identities. In Rome's brutal world, the bodies of captive queens became political battlegrounds. Sexual violence was not just cruelty, it was a calculated tool to assert dominance and shatter the sacred image of a queen. By violating her, Rome violated her nation, sending a message of utter subjugation. The story of Boudica is a chilling example. After her husband's death, she was flogged, and her daughters raped by Roman soldiers, a calculated act to humiliate and terrorize. But instead of breaking her, it ignited a rebellion that shook the province. Sophonisba's fate also reveals the politics of forced relationships. Used as a pawn in alliances, she chose death over the humiliation of Roman captivity. For these women, their bodies were weapons and battlegrounds, their suffering a message to all who might resist. Rome's use of sexual violence was psychological warfare, designed to destroy not just individuals, but entire cultures. Yet, in some cases, the intended effect backfired, fueling resistance rather than submission. The personal became political, and the queen's suffering became a rallying cry. Rome's control extended beyond the battlefield through the calculated use of royal hostages. Princesses and children of conquered rulers were brought to Rome, raised in luxury but never truly free. Officially, it was an education. In reality, it was leverage, hostages to guarantee their homeland's obedience. Their lives were paradoxes, privilege without freedom, every move monitored, every relationship a matter of state. The goal was to Romanize them, ensuring that if they returned home, they would rule as agents of the empire. Cleopatra Selina II, daughter of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, exemplifies this, paraded in triumph, raised by Octavia, and married off to rule Mauritania as a Roman client. Her crown was a gift from the man who destroyed her family, a life dictated by imperial strategy. Hostage-holding was Rome's subtle, insidious way to control distant lands without constant warfare. For a queen, enslavement was the ultimate degradation, a total erasure of identity and status. While some high-profile queens became hostages, others, especially from lesser kingdoms, faced the terrifying prospect of being sold as slaves. In the slave market, royal blood meant nothing. A queen became mere property, her past wiped away. The trauma of this fall from ruler to chattel was unimaginable. For many royal women and their attendants, enslavement was a likely fate during Rome's brutal conquests. This practice terrorized conquered societies, showing that no one, not even the elite, was safe. Enslavement destroyed the old order, scattering the powerful and reducing them to anonymity. It was the silent final end to a story that began with power and prestige. Despite Rome's machinery of degradation, some captive queens found ways to endure and adapt. Zenobia, after her humiliation, was granted a villa and lived out her days as a Roman matron, her lineage continuing in Roman nobility. Her survival and adaptation were victories in themselves, a testament to resilience. Cleopatra Selina II, orphaned and paraded as a spoil of war, used her Roman education to her advantage. As Queen of Mauritania, she blended Egyptian, Greek, and Roman traditions, preserving her heritage and shaping a new legacy. These women, stripped of power, became patrons of culture and memory, mothers to a new generation. Their quiet resistance showed that Rome could conquer kingdoms, but not entirely erase identity. Their ability to adapt and endure speaks to a profound inner strength. Even in defeat, they refused to be defined solely by their suffering. The stories of Rome's captive queens are more than tragic footnotes. They are lessons in power, oppression, and resilience. Rome's rituals of humiliation reveal an empire obsessed with dominance, using public shaming and psychological warfare to break both leaders and peoples. Yet, the most enduring lesson is one of survival. Resistance is not always open rebellion, but sometimes the quiet refusal to be erased. These women's stories remind us that dignity is internal, defended even in chains. Their legacy is a warning about the dangers of unchecked power and a source of inspiration for enduring adversity. They show that history is not only written by victors, but also by survivors. The struggle to maintain identity in the face of overwhelming force is timeless. Even stripped of crowns and freedom, the will to endure can be the most profound act of defiance.